Welcome to the Soul and Ebony Love Stories. The channel will bring you stories of strong bonds, cultural differences, passionate love, and unforgettable dramatic events. If you love interracial love stories and cinematic storytelling, then this is the place for you. Enjoy listening. Please subscribe to the channel to hear more great stories. I know something is wrong the moment they stop talking and start looking at each other. It is a small shift, the kind most people miss. But I work dispatch. I track patterns for a living. And silence like that always means one thing. Someone already decided what happens next. You said the container was reassigned, I say, keeping my voice steady even though my chest is tightening. The dock smells like salt and diesel, cranes groaning above us as containers stack like steel giants against the gray Seattle sky. My supervisor, Rick, does not meet my eyes. That alone tells me everything. Paperwork says it never left your route, he mutters, flipping through a clipboard he is not really reading. Two other men step closer, blocking the open space behind me. I feel it then. The setup. Clean. Quiet. Already decided before I walked in. That is not possible, I say sharper now. I logged every transfer. Every scan. You can check the system. Rick finally looks at me, and there is something ugly in his expression. Not doubt. Not confusion. Just decision. We already did, he says. And it points to you. My stomach drops, but my mind is not. Not yet. Because something about this feels wrong. Too clean. Too fast. Then show me, I push. Show me the logs. The men behind me close in tighter. One of them grips my arm, not hard enough to bruise yet, but enough to make the message clear. We are past questions. You do not need to see anything, Rick says. You just need to admit it. I let out a short breath, almost a laugh. Admit what? That I magically rerouted a container without system access? Without clearance. My voice rises despite myself. You think I am that stupid? That is when they move. Fast. Coordinated. The grip tightens, and suddenly I am being dragged across the dock toward one of the empty storage units. The metal door slams open with a hollow echo, cold air spilling out like a warning. You are going to say you lost it, Rick snaps. Or this gets worse. They shove me inside. The door slams shut behind me, the sound ringing through the empty space like a gunshot. Darkness swallows everything for half a second. Then I hear the lock click. My heart is pounding now, hard loud, but my head stays clear. I press my back against the cold metal wall, forcing myself to breathe evenly. This is not random. This is not panic. This is a play, and I am the fall guy. I open my mouth, ready to shout, ready to fight, ready to do anything but fold. The lights come on. Not flickering. Not slow. Instant. Bright. Harsh white floods the container, cutting through the dark and freezing everything in place. My eyes adjust just enough to see him. He is standing in the far corner like he has always been there. Still. Silent. Watching. A man in a dark coat, one hand resting loosely at his side, the other slowly turning a silver ring around his finger. His face is calm. Too calm. Like nothing in this moment surprises him. Like this was always going to happen exactly this way. Rick sees him too. I hear the shift in his breathing, the hesitation, the sudden crack in his confidence. What the hell is this? He starts, but the words die halfway out. Because the man in the corner finally moves. Not fast. Not aggressive. Just a step forward. Enough. His eyes sweep over the three men like they are not people. Like they are damaged cargo. Then he speaks. You locked the wrong woman in. Rick is the first to break. You should not be here, he says. But the confidence from seconds ago is gone, replaced by something thin, brittle. Fear. The man in the corner does not respond immediately. He just keeps walking forward, slow, deliberate, the sound of his shoes against metal echoing louder than it should. I stay where I am, pressed against the wall, watching everything shift in real time. Whatever this is, I am not the center of it anymore. You locked the wrong woman in, he repeats, softer this time, like he is reminding them of a mistake they cannot undo. One of the men tightens his grip on my arm, but it feels weaker now. Hesitant. This is none of your business, he mutters, though even he does not believe it. The man steps fully into the light, and now I can see him clearly. Clean lines. Controlled posture. Eyes that do not rush, do not react, do not waste a single movement. He looks like someone who does not need to prove anything because everything around him already bends. It became my business, he says calmly, the moment you altered my routes. My routes. Not the company's. Not the port's. His. I feel something cold settle in my stomach as the realization starts to form. This is bigger than a missing container. Much bigger. Rick's face shifts, just slightly, but enough. He knows exactly who this is now. We do not know what you are talking about, he says quickly, too quickly. This is an internal matter. The man tilts his head just a fraction, like he is considering whether that answer deserves a response. Then his gaze slides to me. For a second, everything else disappears. The noise. The tension. The men around us. It is just that look, sharp and assessing, like he is measuring something inside me I cannot see. You keep records, he says. It is not a question. I hesitate, just for a second, because I do not know what answering him means yet. But I do know one thing. The men behind me already decided I am expendable. That part is not changing. I keep backups. I reply, my voice steadier than I feel. Something shifts in his expression. Not approval. Not exactly. Recognition. Rick steps forward, desperate now. She is lying. She rerouted a container, and now she is trying to cover it up. His voice rises, pushing, forcing. We caught her. The man does not even look at him. What container? He asks me. The question cuts clean through everything else. No accusation. No pressure. Just precision. I swallow once, forcing my mind back into place. Manifest ID 7K119, I say. Scheduled for Pier 19 transfer, outbound Pacific line. My brain locks into the details automatically. That is how I survive. It was reassigned at 2:14 without authorization. The system shows my credentials, but I never logged that change. Silence follows. Heavy. Loaded. Then the man smiles. It is small. Controlled. But it is the first real reaction I have seen from him. Good, he says quietly. Rick's composure cracks completely. You do not understand, he starts, stepping forward again, his voice turning sharp, defensive. This is company business. You have no authority here. The man finally looks at him. Really looks at him. And whatever Rick sees there makes him stop mid-sentence. You think this port belongs to the company, the man says, his voice almost bored now. It does not. He turns his hand slightly, the silver ring catching the harsh overhead light. A simple gesture. But something about it feels like a signal. The next moment happens so fast my brain struggles to keep up. The man closest to me releases my arm abruptly, stepping back like he just realized he touched something he should not have. The other two follow, instinct overriding whatever plan they had. Rick does not move fast enough. Two more men appear at the open doorway. I did not hear it unlock. I did not hear it open. They are just there. Silent. Efficient. The air shifts instantly, like pressure dropping before a storm. Take them, the man says. No raised voice. No emphasis. Just a command. I watch it happen without moving, without blinking, because this is not chaos. This is order. A different kind of order. Rick's voice breaks as they drag him toward the door. You cannot do this, he shouts, panic spilling over now. You do not even know what is in that container. The man pauses. Just long enough. Then he turns slightly, his gaze settling on Rick again. I know exactly what was supposed to be in it, he says. Feet. And I know exactly what you replaced it with. The words hit like a hammer. Rick goes silent. Not because he chooses to. Because he understands. Whatever game he was playing, it just ended. They are dragged out of the container, their voices fading into the distance, leaving behind a silence that feels heavier than the noise ever did. The door closes again, but this time it does not lock. It just stays slightly open. An exit. Or a reminder. I am still standing where they left me, my arm tingling where their grip had been, my mind racing to catch up with everything that just happened. Slowly, I straighten, pulling myself away from the wall. It is just the two of us now. I look at him fully for the first time, really taking him in without the chaos around us. "Who are you?" I ask, my voice low but steady. He studies me for a moment, like the answer matters less than how I ask the question. Then he steps closer, stopping just far enough to keep the space controlled. "My name is I'm Jianwu," he says. The name lands differently, like it carries weight I do not fully understand yet, but will. "And you," he continues, his gaze sharp again, focused, "are the only person who saw the real route before it was changed." My chest tightens slightly. Not from fear, from realization. "I told you," I say quietly. "I keep backups." He nods once. "Yes," he says. "And that is why you are still alive." The words settle deep, colder than anything else so far. Because they are not a threat. They are a fact. I hold his gaze, refusing to look away now. "Then tell me what is actually going on," I say. Because I know this is not about one container. For a second, he does not answer. Then he reaches into his coat and pulls out a small tablet, tapping the screen before turning it toward me. "Look," he says. I step closer, my eyes scanning the display. Routes. Multiple. Overlaid. And suddenly, everything clicks into place in a way I was not ready for. The paths do not match. The official system shows one thing. The real movement shows another. Entire shipments are being redirected, hidden in plain sight. My breath catches. "This is not a mistake," I whisper. "No," he says quietly. "It is not." I look up at him, the full weight of it crashing down now. "This is an internal breach." He nods. "Yes." A pause. Then softer. "A betrayal." The word hangs between us, sharp and dangerous. Because if someone inside his network is doing this, then whoever they are not small. And I am standing right in the middle of it. I swallow, forcing the next question out before I can second guess it. "What do you need from me?" He does not hesitate this time. "I need you to stay alive," he says. Then, after a beat, "And I need you to help me find them." The container suddenly feels much smaller, much tighter, because walking away is no longer an option. And deep down, I already know it. I do not say yes right away. That would be too easy, too predictable. And nothing about this situation feels like something that rewards easy decisions. I stare at the screen for a few seconds longer, letting the routes burn into my memory, forcing myself to slow down instead of reacting. That is how I survived dispatch. That is how I have always survived. "If I help you," I say finally, lifting my eyes back to him, "I do it my way." My voice is steady, not defiant, not submissive, just clear. Something shifts in his expression again. Not surprise. Interest. "Explain," he says. I take a breath, grounding myself. "You control the trucks, the ports, the people," I continue. "But you do not understand the system the way I do. Dispatch is not just routes. It is timing. It is patterns. It is knowing when something is wrong before it shows up on a report." I tap the tablet lightly. Whoever did this did not just change destinations. They changed behavior. That is where you find them. He watches me without interrupting, which somehow feels more intense than if he argued. "I stay in the system," I add. "Not as your employee. Not as your asset. As me. If they think I am still the fall guy, they will not stop. They will make another move. And this time, I will see it coming." The silence stretches again, but it is different now. Not testing. Measuring. Then he nods. "Fine," he says simply. "That is it. No negotiation. No warning. Just agreement." And somehow, that unsettles me more than if he had pushed back. The next few hours move fast. Too fast. I am back at my station before the shift even officially resets, sitting in the same chair where everything started, staring at the same screens that now feel completely different. The system looks normal. Clean. Controlled. But I know better now. I know what is hidden underneath it. Jianwu does not sit beside me. He stands behind me. Not close enough to hover. Not far enough to ignore. Just there. A constant presence. like a shadow that does not need to move to be felt. Show me, he says quietly. I start pulling up logs, timestamp overlays, route deviations, micro delays that would mean nothing to anyone else. But to me, they form patterns. Small inconsistencies that stack until they become something undeniable. There, I say, pointing to a sequence of reroutes. See that delay? 7 minutes. That is not random. That is a manual override. I move to another line. And this one. Different port code, but the same delay window. Same hand. He leans slightly closer, his attention sharp, focused. You can trace it, he says. I shake my head. Not directly. Whoever this is, they know how to clean logs. But they cannot fake instinct. They repeat habits. That is where they slip. For a moment, neither of us speaks. Then he says, good. Again. That word. Short. Controlled. But this time it feels different. Less like approval. More like alignment. Hours pass without me noticing. The hum of the system becomes background noise as I dig deeper, pulling threads, connecting patterns. Every time I think I have something solid, it shifts just enough to stay out of reach. Whoever is behind this is careful, experienced, and still they are not perfect. No one is. You are close, he says at one point. I do not look at him. I know. Because I can feel it. That edge where confusion turns into clarity. That moment right before everything clicks. And then it does. A routing cluster. 3 shipments. Different manifests. Different destinations. Same reroute pattern. Same delay. Same timestamp origin. I zoom in, isolating the data, stripping away everything else until there is nothing left but the truth underneath. There, I say quietly. He steps closer this time, close enough that I can feel the shift in the air beside me. Who? He asks. I stare at the screen, my pulse steady now, my mind clear. It is not a single person, I say. A puzz. It is a chain. I expand the data, revealing the overlap points. Dispatch access. Port clearance. Final verification. 3 separate roles. 1 coordinated pattern. That is how they are doing it, I continue. No single point of failure. No one person holds the whole route. They each change a piece, and the system reads it as normal. He studies the screen, his expression unreadable. Then slowly he nods. A network inside the network, he says. Yes. The words settle between us, heavy with implication. Because this is not just betrayal. This is structure. Planned. Built. Maintained. Which means it has been happening longer than anyone realized. I lean back slightly, exhaling for the first time in what feels like hours. If we want to catch them, I say, we do not shut it down yet. I glance at him. We let them think it still works. His gaze shifts to me, sharper now. Why? He asks. Because the moment you move, I reply, they disappear. But if they think they are safe, they make a bigger move. And bigger moves leave bigger footprints. The corner of his mouth lifts slightly. Not a smile, but close. You are not afraid, he says. I let out a quiet breath, shaking my head just a little. I am terrified, I admit. But that does not mean I stop. Something in his expression changes again. Subtle, but real. Before he can respond, my phone buzzes. The sound cuts through the room like a blade. I glance at the screen. Home. My stomach drops instantly. I answer before it can ring again. Grandma, I say, already standing, already moving. Her voice comes through, soft, fragile, but something is wrong. Danielle, she says slowly. There is a man here. Everything inside me goes cold. What man? I ask, my voice sharp now, controlled only by force. He says he knows you, she continues. Says he is a friend. I do not need to ask anything else. I already know. They moved. Faster than I expected. I turn toward Jianwu, my grip tightening around the phone. They are at my house, I say. For the first time since I met him, he reacts instantly. Not controlled. Not measured. Immediate. Stay on the line, he says, already reaching for his coat. My heart is pounding again. But this time it is different. This is not about data anymore. This is not about routes. This is about her. And suddenly, every second matters again. Grandma, I say into the phone, forcing my voice to stay calm. Do not open the door. Do you hear me? Do not open it. A pause. Then, softly. He is already inside. I do not remember leaving the office. 1 second I am standing there, the phone pressed so tightly to my ear it hurts, my grandmother's voice still echoing in my head. The next, I am in the car. The engine is already roaring. The city blurs past in streaks of gray and neon, and Jianwoo is driving like every second is a calculation he refuses to lose. My hands will not stop shaking, so I grip the edge of the seat until my fingers ache. He is inside. I repeat, like saying it again will somehow make it less real. He is already inside. Jianwoo does not answer. He does not need to. The way he drives tells me everything. This is no longer strategy. This is response. Stay with me, I say into the phone, forcing my voice steady again. Grandma, where are you? There is a pause. I can hear her breathing, slow, uneven. In the living room, she says. He is standing by the window. He is polite. That word makes my stomach twist. Polite. Like this is a visit. Like this is normal. Do not say anything else, I tell her quickly. Just stay where you are. I am coming. I end the call before she can answer, because I know if I hear fear in her voice, I will lose control. And I cannot afford that. Not now. The car takes a sharp turn, tires screeching against asphalt. Whoever this is, I say, turning to him, my voice tight. They move too fast. That means they already knew I was not alone. My mind races, trying to connect everything. The warehouse. The routes. The breach. We were watched. I finish. Yes, he says. Just that. No denial. No comfort. Truth. We pull up outside my building faster than should be possible. The car barely stops before I am out, already running, my breath tearing through my chest as I take the stairs 2 at a time. I do not wait for the elevator. I do not think. I just move. The hallway feels too long, too quiet, every step echoing louder than it should. My keys slip in my hand as I fumble for the lock, my heart pounding so hard it feels like it might break me open. The door is not locked. That alone is enough to freeze me for half a second. Then I push it open. The apartment is exactly how I left it, and completely different. My grandmother sits in her chair by the window, her hands folded in her lap, her posture calm in a way that makes my chest ache. And beside her, exactly where she said, is a man I have never seen before. He turns slowly when I step inside. Smiles. Danielle, he says, like we have known each other for years. Like this is expected. Everything inside me goes cold. I step in front of my grandmother instinctively, placing myself between them without thinking. Get out, I say, my voice low, controlled, sharper than I have ever heard it. The man tilts his head slightly, amused. That is not how this works, he replies. Behind me, I hear the door close. I do not turn. I do not need to. I already know who it is. Jianwoo steps into the apartment, his presence filling the space in a way that shifts the air instantly. The man by the window notices too. His smile fades, just slightly. Not fear. Recognition. So, the man says slowly, his eyes moving between us. You found her faster than expected. Jianwoo does not respond right away. He just looks at him, his expression colder than I have seen so far. Not controlled. Not distant. Focused. Dangerous. You made a mistake coming here, he says. The man chuckles softly. No, he replies. I made a point. My grandmother shifts slightly behind me, confused, caught in a moment she should never have been part of. I reach back without looking, resting my hand on hers, grounding both of us at once. What do you want? I ask, forcing the question out before anything else can escalate. The man's eyes return to me. Sharp. Curious. Measuring. You, he says simply. The word lands harder than anything else. My pulse spikes, but I hold my ground. Then you should have come alone, I reply. For a second, something flickers in his expression. Respect. then it is gone. You have something that does not belong to you, he continues, his voice calm again. Data. Routes. Patterns. You think you understand what you are looking at. You do not. I understand enough, I snap. Jianwu steps forward slightly, positioning himself just off my shoulder, not blocking me, but not leaving me exposed either. The balance is precise. Intentional. You came into my house, he says quietly. The man smiles again, but this time it does not reach his eyes. And you lost control of your network, he shoots back. We all make mistakes. The tension in the room tightens, sharp and immediate. I feel it before anything happens. The shift. The breaking point. Then everything moves at once. The man lunges. Not at me. At my grandmother. A calculated move. A leverage point. My body reacts before my brain catches up, but I am not fast enough. Jianwu is. He intercepts him mid-motion. The impact loud, sudden, violent in a way nothing else so far has been. The two of them collide hard, knocking into the table, glass shattering against the floor. My grandmother gasps behind me, and I turn just enough to pull her back, to shield her, to keep her out of reach. Stay back, I tell her, my voice shaking now, the control slipping at the edges. The fight is fast. Brutal. Not messy. Every movement from Jianwu is precise, efficient, like he is not just fighting but ending something. The man struggles, pushing back, but it is uneven, off balance, because this was never meant to be a fair fight. It ends as quickly as it started. The man is on the ground, pinned, his breath uneven now, his earlier confidence gone. Jianwu stands over him, his expression unreadable again, but there is something darker underneath it now. Final. You chose the wrong leverage, he says quietly. The man laughs, even now, even like this. No, he whispers. I chose the right one. My stomach drops, because I understand what he means. This was never about taking her. It was about showing me how easy it would be. Jianwu's gaze flicks toward me for just a second. And in that moment, I see it. The shift. This is no longer investigation. This is war. The man on the floor smiles through the pain. They are already moving, he says. Bigger than you think. Silence falls again, heavy, suffocating. I tighten my grip on my grandmother's hand, my heart pounding, but something else rising with it. Not fear. Not anymore. Resolve. I look at Jianwu, my voice steady despite everything. Then we hit them first, I say. Because now there is no going back. And no more waiting. The ballroom at Pier 19 looks nothing like the place I work every day. Tonight it is polished, controlled, dressed up for investors and contracts and people who pretend shipping is clean. Glass walls reflect the water outside, container cranes frozen like steel skeletons against the dark. I stand near the back, dressed sharper than I have ever been, but I can still feel the weight of diesel and long shifts in my bones. They tried to bury me here. Now they are about to watch me stand up. On stage, the executives smile like nothing is wrong. The same men who signed off on false routes, who turned shipments into shadows, who thought I was small enough to erase. My name is already in their folders. Their version of the story is ready. I can see it in the way they avoid looking at me directly. They think this is over. Then the screen behind them flickers. Not part of the program. Not planned. The room shifts instantly. Jianwu steps forward like he owns the moment, because he does. No announcement. No permission. Just presence. Conversations die without being told to. The lead executive tries to speak, tries to keep control, but it is already gone. Jianwu takes it with nothing more than a look. Before we sign anything, he says calmly, we should correct the record. The screen changes. Routes appear. Clean it first. Then they split. Real versus altered. Every deviation. Every timestamp. Every hidden reroute exposed in brutal clarity. I hear the shift in the room. The quiet panic breaking through polished smiles. Someone curses under their breath. Someone else tries to step away. Too late. This network, Jianwu continues, his voice steady, cutting through everything, has been compromised from within. He does not raise his voice. He does not need to. Not by one person. By a coordinated chain. Names begin to appear. One by one. Faces in the room go pale as their own reflections turn into evidence behind them. I watch it happen, my pulse steady now, not racing, not afraid. Because this time, I am not the one being exposed. Security moves in. Not the kind hired for show. His people. Quiet. Efficient. They do not rush. They do not hesitate. One by one, the men who tried to bury me are pulled from the edges of the room, their protests sharp, desperate, useless. The executive who accused me steps back, shaking his head. "This is illegal," he says, his voice cracking. "You cannot do this." Jianwu looks at him like he is nothing. "I already did." Silence falls. Heavy. Final. Then he turns slightly, his gaze landing on me. "For transparency," he says, "there is one person in this system who did not bend." Every eye follows his. Lands on me. I feel it. The weight. The shift. The moment everything changes. "Danielle Price," he continues, "is the only reason this breach was found." He steps aside. An invitation. Or a command. I do not hesitate this time. I walk forward. Each step steady. Measured. Earned. I take my place beside him, facing the same people who tried to erase me, and for the first time, they do not see a dispatcher. They see something else. Something they cannot control. Jianwu's voice cuts through one last time. "As of tonight," he says, "she will oversee the logistics division." The words land like a final verdict. No debate. No vote. Done. I glance at him, just for a second. "Why me?" I ask quietly. His answer comes just as calm. "Because you did not kneel." The room stays silent long after that. Outside, the port keeps moving. Containers shift. Ships prepare to leave. Nothing stops. But everything is different now. And as I look out at the water, I realize something I cannot ignore. When a devil puts you in power, you do not walk away clean. I thought surviving the port was the hardest part. I was wrong. Power is heavier than fear. It sits on your shoulders, quiet, constant, reminding you that every decision now moves more than just containers. It moves lives. I still see the girl who got dragged into a warehouse and almost disappeared. But now, when I walk through Pier 19, people move out of my way. Not because I asked them to. Because they know. And somewhere out there, the people who started this are still watching, still waiting for me to slip. Let them. I am not that woman anymore. So tell me, if you were in my place, would you stay clean or learn how to roll in the dark? If this story kept you hooked, do not forget to like, subscribe, and drop your thoughts below.